Hello, Gomer.
Hi,
My name is Mary Lynn Evans.
Mary Lynn Evans.
And you are
my
Gomer
cousin,
Evans.
my cousin.
Yes, that's
Could
right.
be, in Wales, small town.
Could be, could be. We're in Black Diamond Museum, the wonderful historical museum here. And I asked Gomer if he would sit and talk with me a little bit about life in Black Diamond in the mining community. Because, how old are you, Gomer?
95.
95 years. So, let's see, you were born in 27?
Yes, I was, yes.
27.
Yeah.
And the mine closed in 1950 or thereabouts?
Yeah, somewhere in the 1950s. It pretty well shut down.
Yeah, so you lived contemporaneous with that mine for about 25, 30 years.
Yes, yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about your family. What is your Welsh connection to all of this?
And there's a lot of stories about my dad, how he came here. They pinned money on the inside of his coat or something. Anyway, he came here, and he'd been working in the mines when he was 12,
Oh, my. When did he come? How old was he?
About 1912, or we got somewhere in there, 1910,
Oh, goodness.
somewhere in there. And then, but he spoke Welsh. And when they first came, and so they came, and they lived up in Carbonado, another coal mining community up there. And my dad was, he was already 12 years old. He was 18, I think, when he got here. But anyway, they moved down here to Diamond, Black Diamond, and Morgan ran all the mines. He's a Welsh. But so my dad was a fire boss. That's the guy that kind of runs the mine. And there was like a picture in our museum of 6 guys that ran the mines. And Morgan was in the picture. My dad was there too. And he's an Evans, so he ran it. For some thing, we have to run everything. We can't be that's the way we are. That's the way we all. Anyway, my mother, she come with her sister from Wales with her dad and mother, and they came over to here to Black Diamond. Why they all want to come Black Diamond? Well, everything was here. The coal company made sure they had a nice store, and they have houses and rent and electricity and all the good stuff. Like where my mother lived, they didn't even have electricity, so it was a big change for them to come here. My mother, she worked there in the diamond here. They had single men hotels, and the reason for that was that a lot of people come from Eastern Europe and Italy and all over, and they only probably have enough money for one in the steerage. So he'd come over and work in the coal mines, and he worked real hard, make sure the coal company would keep him. And then once they did that, well, the coal company would give him a house, and they were $10 a month, and then they'd send for the family. And that's all, everybody did that. But anyway, they had these single men hotels, and that's where they first came. They stayed in these single men hotels. I think they're more like houses, but they had like 7 in the diamond. There had a lot of coal miners. Well, anyway, my mom my dad was they had Barclay. She was a Barclay Hotels up here on Lawson Street, and she worked in there as in a hotel there. And so that's where she met my dad. And they raised 9 kids here. And that's the toughest bunch of kids you ever seen, but that's how my mom and dad got together then. And but he was a nice thing about it, he was a fire boss, so he got the big house up here in Lawson, a nice, stick built. They had a lot of houses in the diamond, but they were called box built, and there was no 2x4s in them.
Oh.
They're down through the walls, but it's a 2x12, that was the whole wall.
Oh.
Then they had batting board on the outside to keep the air, but on the inside, the big crack was there. So you put newspaper, whatever you had to cover it. Yeah, that was years ago. No, we had a pretty nice home, but still, we had 9 children, so.
Yeah, that's a pile to take care of, isn't it? So where were you in the lineup, Gomer?
Right in the middle. They had, my brother Dave was above me, and then my sister, 2 girls, 3 sisters and 2 brothers above me. And below me, I had 2 girls and my younger brother, Tommy. Yeah, so I was kind of right in the middle. So I got it from both ends. He had me when he was quite older. But all I'm thinking that just drank coal and drank beer, that's all I always thought about. So I got to the museum here, and you'll see over here the picture of him with a suit and a tie and everything on, So he was no dummy, that guy. And and then you see other pictures of my dad, But
How did he learn to be the fire boss? Did he worked in the mines?
Yeah, he worked in the mines in Wales. And when most of they come over here, the coal companies wanted people to work in the mines. A lot of them had no experience in the mines, so they wanted somebody experienced in the mines to teach them how to mine coal. So I asked my dad, there's 30 different languages spoken in the diamond. And so I always asked my dad, well, how do you work with a guy who can't speak English? So we had two sticks. You pull one out that way and pull the other one that way, and then you go like that. That's where you drill. And you drill over here. So that's how you talk. But he says, it's amazing how fast they picked up the English language, a lot of them. He said they're pretty good, yeah. But they all seem to get along okay. Except once in a while, they'd have an argument. My brother Dave and I sit up on the porch above the confectionery here and look down at the tavern doors. And they had these swinging doors. You could go in and out. Once in a while, somebody would go flying out of that down flat on his back out there on the sidewalk. And maybe my dad come out and look and see, he'll go back and drink beer. Maybe my dad.
He came out to make sure they were still alive.
Yeah, you go 15 feet before you hit the ground.
Oh, golly.
Not only a big guy, but a boxer too. You know how to use it. And he taught actually at the high school. Taught boxing at the high school. Yeah. So he taught. That's when I told you about making the girls boxers instead of us. But that's the way he was.
Did he box in Wales?
I don't know about it. I don't think so. I think he just dug coal. Where he picked it up, I don't know. But he go, yeah, he's got real quick hands. Quick. One time, he went up there's a little spring lake up here. They had a Democratic picnic going on up there. And so my dad took me up there with him. And they had a smoker, they call them up there. That's a portable ring where the boxers could go inside and fight. And my dad said, well, you're up next. I said, well, who am I fighting, Dad? It's that guy over there. Here's this great big guy. Dad, he's twice the size as me. My dad said, well, you're twice as fast.
So you fought him?
Yeah, the 3 rounds, he couldn't catch me. I didn't want to get close to that guy, remember that? I wasn't that much of a boxer, but yeah, my dad.
You were fast and smart.
Oh, my daddy.
Well, I was tracing back the origins of this mine, and I think, see if I've got this right, that some geologist came out from San Francisco, and he was part of a company, the mining company, and he speculated, looked around, and he decided that there was a pretty good seam of coal here. So he went back to San Francisco and he said, we need to get somebody out here to take a better look at it. And Morgan's was sent out here because apparently he was one of their hotshot mining people. And he went down into the shaft and looked at it and said, oh yes. And so he and the geologist went back to San Francisco, told the parent company, we need to get control of the land and we need to put a mine there. And they said, okay, fine, Morgan, you do it. So he came out here, and as far as I can tell, he started everything.
Yeah, he's the main man. Yeah. And they found the coal down here in Mine 11, which is right in the middle of Black Diamond here. And that's when they really, without that, we'd be just a wide spot in the road without Mine 11, because that's where everything happened down there.
So Morgan's got miners. Did he look just as, especially for Welsh miners?
Yeah, they did. Welsh miners. They were good. They knew coal. My dad knew, coal. You know what the seams at and coal. I didn't think to smell it. I mean, they were really good. Yeah, my dad. He was, he knew coal, and like Mr. Morgan, Dad knew it too. That's why he made him a fire boss. Yeah, right. He had the lamp on with him all the time. My dad was always number one for safety, for any coal miner. And then one time, my sister Muriel, she brought a magazine down to our house. It had my story about my dad in the mines, and it was right in this sports magazine or something. But anyway, she read it to us. And what happened was, my dad was down in the mine and working, and with him was a writer, author, writer kind of. He wanted to find out how you mine coal and the people, and so he went with my dad down the mine. So when he's down there, the writer's writing this story in the magazine. So he went down there and he got in an argument with 5 coal miners down there for some reason, So my dad said, well, I don't fight in the mine, but I'll meet you up at the water tank. They had a water tank outside where the trains are filled for water. So they come up there. The writer's writing this, and he's doing all the writing. So my dad said he's there, and then these 5 guys stand up, and my dad told them you can come all at once or one at a time. And the first guy comes up, my dad, boom, boom, flattened him right out. This writer's writing this down. And the next guy comes running up, dad, boom, boom again. Different thing touched my dad. Third guy comes, same damn thing, whap. Because he hit you about right here, and you don't go back. You just, from here, you do it like that. So you don't throw if you telegraph your punch, they know you're coming.
Yeah.
So you just throw it like that.
Yeah.
They taught me, my dad taught me. But anyway, and then the last guy, he just took off and ran away. My dad would, you don't monkey with my dad.
And of course, that story got around to everybody else in the mine, and so
all over.
He got respected.
Oh yeah, very well. Yeah, you down here drinking beer. A guy get drunk. God, that guy get drunk. But anyway, that was my dad.
Well, so he knew Morgan Morgans.
Oh yeah, they were really close. Yeah.
In fact, Morgan probably recruited him, huh?
Well, yeah, because there's a picture right in here. Morgan, my dad.
Yeah.
Because they ran the big mine down here.
Right.
And it says right my dad probably took the inside and all that, and then Morgan took care of everything.
Right.
But and I didn't know that about my dad till later on, and there's actually some books in here. If you're a fire boss, you have to know what's in them books. I didn't know my dad had to know that much about arithmetic and angles and all that kind of stuff. But he had to know that to do that in the coal mines. Yeah.
Interesting.
But he never didn't act like he knew anything,
When did he start working for the company? Do you know?
Well, just as soon as, I don't know, probably about when he got here, probably 1912 or 13.
So Morgan was here in 1880.
Yeah.
And from 1880 to about 1912 before so that was like 20, 30 years.
Yeah, well, it took a long time because they didn't have no shafts when they come. They just seemed the seams would come out of the ground, where they have a landslide or something, and open up a seam, and then they see the coal, and that's the coal they took.
Right.
They didn't have like no mine shafts going. They didn't put no portals in or nothing.
Right.
They just mined the coal. So it probably took them a few years to get back up here and get going. So yeah, I don't know how that all worked years ago, but if that's what he's just. Old Morgan, he was quite a guy himself.
He was, and I sort of traced his origins. He came directly from Wales, and he was young. He was 15, 16, and he went to the Lackawanna mine in Scranton, New Jersey. Scranton, New Jersey.
Okay.
And learned sort of all of the trade and stuff, and then he got married to the grand aunt of a friend of mine.
Really? Wow.
Yes, a fellow that I met from back there when I went to the North American Festival of Wales. His name is Torrey Watkins. And I asked Torrey about his ancestors, and he said, great-granduncle was Morgan Morgans, and he and my great-aunt went by ship to Panama. There was no canal.
Yeah.
So they got across Panama somehow through the jungles with a kid.
Wow.
And then came up the West Coast. Stopped in San Francisco. He got hired by the mining company, and then eventually came up here.
Really?
Yeah. So quite a story.
So he's in Nortonville, then that's where he
Nortonville.
came.
That's right.
Where they came from.
Nortonville,
Yeah.
California.
I'll be darned.
Yeah, and I read that when they found the coal here, he wrote to the people in Nortonville and said, "Y'all come up.
Yeah.
Just come up. Bring your families.
Yeah.
We'll have everything for you. We'll have a store. We'll have houses and all of that." And so apparently a lot of them came up.
Yeah. The coal company's pretty smart because back where these people come from, they didn't have stores and food and clothing. In Black Diamond, in the big store, they had 3 aisles. And so you could have clothes and shoes and all that kind of stuff. And my sister worked in there. In the middle was kind of the hardware. You could get everything you wanted there. And then on the other side was all the groceries. And they had everything you wanted. They had meat, anything you wanted, which is a lot.
General store.
A lot easy. They thought they were in paradise here. People had heat in their homes from the coal. They had electricity, and then the rent was like $10 a month. And so they thought they were pretty darn good,
So
living here.
that answers one of my questions. I was going to ask you why people came to be miners and continue to be miners, because it's a dirty, hard, dangerous job.
I worked in them. I ain't that bad.
It's not that bad?
No, it's pretty neat. You have you and your partner. That's all you take, you know. Just two guys. Even in the gangway, my brother Dave worked to run the joy loader. That's what he had, big arms that scooped the coal in. That's what he was. He was a coal miner. I wasn't. I worked outside, and somebody didn't show up, then I go down and take his place. And my brother-in-law, he hated the inside the coal mines because it's dark, you know.
Yeah,
black.
very
Dark. I'd always raise my hand real quick when I go down and take his place. But it's pretty nice. The temperature's about the same. Take your, say in the wintertime, you take your big coat down, you put that in the back of the chute, and you work. Nice, about 70 degrees down there. Nice working there. And if you got a good partner, you BS a lot, and you just go. It's not that bad, really.
Really, you didn't mind the darkness?
No, I didn't mind it at all. Well, you had your light, you know.
Yes.
But if you're eating lunch, and shut our lights off, and then black is black. You can't even see your hand. That's black.
Exactly.
You got to take your hand, touch your face. Well, that's black. We used to do that a lot. But everybody put their stuff in the back of the chute there. And sometimes, you know, in the back, they use that for a toilet, too. But a lot of guys didn't, but a lot of guys did. You know, had to do it. So, yeah, but that was, yeah, I know my dad worked there all his life. So, you know.
Did you ever talk about it? Did he ever talk about how it was every day to leave the light and go down into all that dark?
I think I kind of get away from everything. It's pretty nice. You know, it's just like, say, a farmer wanted to go out in the field where nothing's out there. And, well, he liked that, too. You know, go out there and same like in a coal mine. You go down, forget everything else because all you got your coal in a big coal mine.
And so they didn't worry about it being dark and it being sort of like going into a grave.
No, it was like a family thing. It just, you know, I know a lot of guys that, you know, guys that aren't with us more got buried down there and all them guys.
Yes.
Most all them guys. And, you know, it wasn't like that in the mines. I never seen anybody disgruntled about anything. If there was anything wrong, then they took care of it, you know. If they say that it was air wasn't getting enough down there or something, they didn't know. They take care of it. Yeah, and so it just years ago they had contract mining too, which what they'd give the coal miner so much for so much coal. So sometimes they cut short some of the safety things they should have done, and that might have caused a lot of trouble. Because, you know, there's still methane gas down there.
Yes.
And that blows up everything. So with the fire boss, you go down, you check all the settings where you're going to work that day. Make sure everything's good and safe. And then you bring the coal miners in.
I see.
But somewhere along the line, somebody forgot to do something, and that blew up. You know, when you think
This was the Lawson explosion?
Yeah, Lawson, no, they all had that, the methane gas.
Tell me about that Lawson explosion.
Well, we had just here a couple of years ago, the company Yarrow Bay bought that whole hill where the mines were at, and this one area where they had the big explosion down there, which they located that exact area where that explosion happened, and they have some kind of a electrical instrument tells them where the miners were buried and killed down in an explosion. And they made a little memorial park up there for there, and that's when I went up there and just participated with them in there. But
how many died in that explosion?
So I'll tell you a quick story about that one. I got stories for it. Yeah. So Mr. John Morganti, Italian fellow, the guy that gave us the money for the statue.
Yes.
Well, he was the afternoon boss for the mine up at Lawson. And in those days, they had midwives to take care of John's wife was having a baby, so he couldn't go there because the midwife couldn't make it. So he called his best friend, to take his place up at the mine in the afternoon shift. Sure enough, that's when the explosion, and his best buddy got killed up there. That's why he was so adamant about getting something here for the miners. And then. Oh yeah, because his executor of his estate, remember, he come down the sidewalk with his wife, and I said, man, that lady's from New York City. Man, she looked like, you know, you could tell that. She's a very nice lady, and she was a lady and a half. But anyway, they come down, and Greg, I was outside just doing the grunt work out there, and so they would come in and met with the president, Keith Watson. And anyway, they left, and I asked Keith, what do they want doing here? So he told me a story about George Barganti and the family. But we lived right above them in Dago Town. I mean, they used to, sorry about the thing, but that's used to, everybody called it Dago Town. and that's where a lot of coal miners lived in there, and they lived not a very big house, not so. Well, they want to leave some money for the some kind of memorial for the coal miners. So I'm thinking, well, this guy's an old coal miner himself, you know what I mean? And he moved out of that house, and they moved to Seattle, just an old coal miner. So he up and leaves us like $60,000. I don't know what the number was.
Wonderful.
How the heck did he get all that money? So then, and he bought a whole bunch of bricks too, $100 a piece. So anyway, he come back, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 weeks later, when we were thinking about all this, and I asked him about the story about his father-in-law, because his father-in-law said, well, you'd never be my son-in-law if I would have went to work that day. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he wouldn't have married his daughter. So anyway, it's pretty neat. He said that his father-in-law called him, he was in assistant care living or something. So he called him one night, late, come on down, I want to fill out my will, because I think his name was Greg, executor. And so John, he said, well, I have to go down and see what John wants. So I said, John, say, you fill out my will. Because Greg had been telling me, hey, the state's going to take all your money if you don't will it out to somebody. He says, okay. So he has to fill out all this thing. Well, give them $1 million.
To this museum?
No, they give this. They give it the Heart Association and the Diabetes Association. He was telling us the money they give them life. But then he'd give us all this money too for our little place there. Pretty nice. I had a coal mine. I could never get that figured in my head how he did that. But he had daughters. Yeah. Anyway, so he went down there that night about 7:00 at this place. Anyway, he was in bed and then filled out, and then John said, "Oh, you're gonna get it signed. Well, get it signed. He's Italian. Quick.
Yeah.
Get it done." So he says, "Oh, John says it's 8:00 at night. You do." So he calls up all his lawyer buddies. They all come down there and sign his will.
With the witnesses.
Yeah, he signed it. Yeah, he was telling that story. His whole kind of his dad. He'd been telling him for years to get it done, and in the last minute he decided he wanted to do it. Yeah.
Well, that explosion, the Lawson explosion.
Big old Presbyterian church here in Diamond, and Mr. Garrett, another Welshman, he had double doors on the upside, and my sister would play that organ and stuff there, and they had the pump organs. I don't know. They got one here.
Right here.
Yeah, but Mr. Garrett, he'd open the doors. I think you could hear him down in Morganville. He had one of them telegraphic, megaphone voices that go way out like that. David Morgan, Garrett. Sorry, excuse me, David Garrett. Yeah, that's a nice old guy. Yeah.
Well, I heard there was only one church in town because that's what Morgan said. You don't need more than one church. Everybody can use it, share it.
That's what I heard. Yeah. That's right by where kind of close to where I live now. And then the hill next to it there was a hill there where the old fire, but they took that all out. But that's where that old church was, yeah.
And is that church still operating?
No, it's all gone. Actually, they got an old fire station there now, and it's deplete. So the museum here might be taking it over to take care of it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's
good
happening. I found that out today. So they have abandoned that. The fire department have abandoned that building.
Right.
So now they have to bring it. City will bring it up to code.
Right.
And then maybe the museum will take it over for all their artifacts they have here. They put them up there. Some of them. They got so many of them.
So you are quite Welsh, and I understand you're very proud of it, which I think you should be. Me too. The same way. What went on in your family culturally in a Welsh way that wouldn't have happened in another family? What did you do differently?
I understand, like some other family had some problems?
No, like the Italian families.
Oh,
here, they were doing their thing.
Yeah.
What did the Welsh do in a family that made them specifically Welsh?
Well, it didn't make no difference. We didn't know the difference. We just were Americans. And I played with Italian kids, and I remember Mrs. LaCasey, I can tell you a lot of Italian families. At lunchtime, come on in, and we all go in and see how they have a big table, down in the basement, and boy, they all good food, man. I can tell you all the places I ate. And Azumics, they're from Lithuania. The Polacks, we call them all Polacks, Italians. And same thing there, if you're playing with the kids, come on in, just sit at the table and they feed you all the time.
Did your parents speak Welsh?
My dad and my mother didn't speak. She didn't speak. My dad and Mr. Jones, they come down at night sometime. They talk. Boy, it's a beautiful language. But you have no idea what they're saying. But,
did your mother make things like Welsh cakes and
yeah, my mother made all that kind of stuff.
bar breath and those specifically sort of Welsh things?
She got away from pretty soon. She was American. So we
right.
had the roast beef and we had the stews and the soups and all that kind of stuff. These are good. Well, 9 people. But you know, kids love their mother cooking. I don't know how, whatever she made. We ate it up like a bunch of. We could eat. We had a big table there, and there's 9 of us at that table. When I was a kid, little one. So you wait. My dad or my oldest brother, they start first. You know,
did they pray before the meal?
No, pray. No, never did pray. You know,
Yeah.
just eat. They were all workers. You know, worked in the coal mines, or worked in the woods, and when they sat down to eat, they were hungry. They were hungry. They'd eat it up.
Did you ever go to church?
Yeah, well, when I was little, we lived on the corner, and then we had to go to the old. My sister, my aunt Deborah, that's my dad's sister, built a big church, a big Presbyterian church, and my dad was always mad because to make her go up, make my dad work in that church. God damn it, I could be down drinking beer. Well, you don't like that church stuff. But anyway, then in the morning, on Sunday, you have a little envelope, and my mom put a penny or 5 cents in, or whatever she put in the envelope. So you went to Presbyterian Church on the bottom floor, because the up was for like the senior. But anyway, the bottom floor, and Mrs. McDowell, that was the daughter of Harry that owned the store. She'd play that pump organ. Yeah, I can still remember that. And then anyway, I had a little box on the side, and you take this little envelope and drop it in that box.
That was your offering.
That was a little offering. Yeah, yeah, I went there. That's where I baptized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
How did you know to be proud of being Welsh?
You just anybody give you. I shouldn't say these words, but
Yeah.
you were in trouble, big time.
Okay, so your dad taught you that the Welsh took care of themselves. They were good physical fighters.
Well, he didn't tell you nothing. He just looked and seen
just
what was
watched
happening. Because, quick story, a good friend of mine, Ralph Boncaro, it's still an Italian family. They lived down here by Lake 12. Well, but anyway, the young Ralph, the youngest of the boys, same age as me. So he was a skinny little kid, you know. But he'd come up to our house. He had to go right by my house to go to school. So he'd sit down at the breakfast table, and I'd be there at the big old table, you know, and bench in the back. He'd sit next to me. Well, anybody sit at the table, mother would feed him. Whether it be always a mush, some kind of a mush, I don't know, oatmeal or latrina. Sometimes, anyway, whatever it was always good, you know. And he'd eat, but he would, kids would pick on him, you know, sometimes. And the damn guy, but I hate to do this, but he'd go around there and pick on your ear. God damn it, Ralph, get away from me, you know. And he'd stay with me because the Evans kids walking down that street, you don't monkey with an Evans kid. I don't care any of them.
Gave way, right?
Even the girls, they don't even monkey with the girls. They were worse than me. Ralph would tell. That's how we got along so good. And even today, Larry Boncaro, Ralph's boy, come today. You know, and treats me like a brother, you know.
Oh,
and then Lori thinks I walk on water. They all did, you know. But I always took care of Ralph. And we had a lot of good Italians. Ed Boncaro that owned half of Seattle, a lot of big time money. Yeah, we was down here in an old coal dump down there, the old cinder pile. They used to do that a lot of times. Start a fire, and everybody bring something, throw in the pot, and make Michael Mulligan stuff there, and drink of the wine.
Right.
And me and Ralph try to sneak the wine.
Tell me what happened if there was an accident. Yes.
Just quick. He was also, he hasn't talked about it yet, but while he was influenced greatly by his father, he was also greatly influenced by his 2 older brothers, Jim and Dave.
Yeah, really was, yeah.
They learned from Grandpa too, but they're very Welsh and the same proud that you're talking about. So that came through Grandpa to Jim and Dave and him.
The same thing.
That's
It was big in the family.
And most people knew that too. They'd monkey with you, stay away. You know, that's what he was. That's what it is. So.
And that wasn't true about the other ethnic groups.
I don't know.
Well, your father was a boss.
Yeah.
And that probably made a big difference.
Well, there was a difference in why it is. I still don't know, but we were kind of the upper class in Welsh.
That's what I wondered.
You know, you have the Italians and the Polacks and all them all, but the Welsh ran the town.
Ah,
Yeah, they ran the whole
why?
town.
Why did they run it?
Well, they
here
were the first here.
First here.
And so, you know, and then even after way up until the war started, then it's kind of changed quite a bit after that. But prior to that, in the 30s, when things were tough, I know Cartwrights moved in up at old Franklin, an old house up there, and they have to take stuff. My mother gave them the stuff to take all up to them people. So look at the stuff. We were poor. My mother still sending stuff up there. I remember her doing that for them. Yeah, but we all played together and fought a little bit together too.
Right,
You know,
right.
so
What about when you say they ran the town? How did they run the town? The school board?
yeah, most of them they were probably all Welsh people ran everything. You know, they big time in the church. That's where it all started, from the church. They're all members of the church, belong to the church, and Catholic was kind of not that big in them days. They weren't. That's in the diamond here anyway.
Right, you were Protestants.
Yeah, all Protestant mostly. Yeah, it was. They always had big crowds on. I remember that. Had the church be full up because you didn't go upstairs, so you stayed down. But the upstairs were the organs. Well, they had organ down where we are, but they had the organs and the big.
Where the adults went.
Yeah, all the adult people up there. Yeah, my sister Mary, I always remember her up there playing the organ.
Did you have a Welsh minister?
Oh yeah, my mother's dad. He was what do you call Welsh pastor or minister or whatever it was, and he was in charge of the Welsh Black Diamond band. And they went to San Francisco for the whatever exposition down there, and they won down there. And my sister Murray will tell me this: they got a baton down. They give them that. And I never know where any of that stuff, but I didn't know this until later on. But anyway, he was kind of a boss too, you know, like a minister. So everybody looked up to him. Yeah, it was that's the way it was. That's the right. I don't know why. I mean, you know, they're here first, and most of them were bosses in the mine.
They must have been good organizers too, and good managers, were they?
Very good. Yeah. They took care. Like the store, it was run. Well, my sister worked there, and her friend, and just the girls in the Black Diamond, and no black people. I never seen no black people. And anyway, anyway, they took very good care of everybody. They had the big store. They had the big confectionery up here. They had a big hotel across the street here, and they had houses, and yeah.
And what do people do for entertainment? Did they have singing contests like the Welsh Eisteddfods?
Yeah, they had a lot of high school put a lot of stuff on, and they had the show hall, a big show hall. Excuse me. And then also a meeting hall too. It was a big 2-story thing, you know, and it had I don't know, lots of seats, and I watched it Gone with the Wind in there. Remember that was a big thing. But if your dad was working in the mine, you get in free, you know. They had a big curtain across it, and then you go in there and get in there. So if you're free, so you went down and sat in the front row when you were a little kid. But down the front row, they had 2 exit doors on each side, and they had curtains across those doors. And so they started sitting in, the lights all go out, right? Pretty soon them curtains start wiggling. The kids that couldn't get in, they sneak them into
they came in the other way.
exit doors, because the doors were always open for exit, you know. Yeah. They had to open them from the inside, but open them up, pushing the curtains. And Mr. Babb, he was a great, big old, smoking cigar, big old man, you know. He never kicked anybody out. He'd come down there and all the seats, he knew the seats were full, you know. And then he'd walk around like he'd be a big old mean guy, but he never hurt anybody. Nice guy.
Did the community ever have an Eisteddfod where the people competed singing or playing musical instruments, and then they got prizes for it?
Yeah, they did, and I wasn't too much in that musical stuff. But my sister Mary was, they were always getting some kind of event going. And of course, they had the Eastern Star, the Masonic organization.
Right.
And
did they start all of those, like the Odd Fellows and the Eastern Star?
Yeah, we had them all here. And my mother belonged to Pythian's sister.
Yes.
I didn't know that, but I found out later on she did belong to that. My mother wasn't one that, she just took care of the house and everything. She wasn't one that goes out, and she never smoked or drank or
But somebody Welsh organized all those clubs, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they had a bunch of the girls. Yeah, well, they had a bunch of people. There was the Thomases. There was Roberts. There was the Merrifields, Downings. All them people with Tyermans. Well, a lot of them people were organizing things all the time.
Right.
Labor Days, a Maypole where they ran around the pole on Maypole. They had that going, and they have Labor Day, and they always had something.
And the Gaman Fagani, did you have that at the church where you sang hymns?
What's that?
A Gaman Fagani?
Who?
Nope.
Gaman Fagani. So it means a community sing.
Oh, where the community gets out and inside? Yeah, they had that on, I forgot what, but they did have that singing stuff, yeah. But I was a kid, I didn't get it.
You didn't see that part.
Yeah, but they did have a law, well, let's see, what's that one say? To be born Welsh is not to be born, you probably know that one.
Say it again, I always forget.
Yeah, I have to think back. But
not to have a silver spoon in your mouth.
Yeah, not to be born with a silver spoon, but to have, poetry in your heart and music in your soul.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that was it.
So the Welsh were known for their music.
Yeah, they very were. Yeah, very, 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 very musical. Yeah, they had a lot of. My sister Muriel always had something going musical. Boy, she knew it. Okay, I know something about singing. They had a tavern down here. They called it Morganville Tavern. It was a social place, and my sister could play the piano, and then you could dance there. A little social. That's what it was. Just social place, singing and dancing and everything. One time they was playing Danny Boy, and my dad, the big man, he's sitting drinking beer. So they started playing Danny Boy, and the people all singing, and then my dad turns around and he starts singing. Everybody else shuts up. And I was old enough to get in a tavern. Well, maybe not, but anyway.
Did he have a nice voice?
Yes, and I thought he had one of them muscular voice, baritone, beautiful voice. And he says, well, in Wales, the first thing you do, you go to church and you get in the choir. That's in Wales. That's what he had to do as a little boy, go to work and learn how to sing. I never heard him sing before,
Oh.
And he's about half drunk or something. But anyway, he'd sing. Everybody else shut up.
Oh, they
So
listened
listen to him.
Did they sing in the mine?
Huh?
Do you think they sang in the mine?
No. They sang going to the mine and coming home.
Ah.
My dad, where they lived on Fountain Street, the row houses, were down like that.
Right.
So you walk down, the coal miners get out, all are pretty close together. Walk down the end of the row houses, then you turn, I was there, and you turn at the end of the road houses, there's a trail going down to the collieries, which is the mines down there, and down there, and so, especially when you're coming home, water, thank you, and so you would sing, my dad said, when you're coming home out of the mine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So the families would know that the miners were out.
Yeah.
Heard them coming.
Yeah, because row houses are right here, like from here, and the collieries are probably down by that wall down there. That's how
What
close
does
they were.
colliery mean?
Oh, that's a portal. That's a coal mine.
That's where you go in.
Yeah, they call them collieries back there. Here they just call them mines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They just have a number. Usually the number relates to the section of land they're in.
Yeah, right.
That's this 11, that 12, and 14. Yeah, that's all the coal.
Athletics also, the baseball and soccer.
I saw pictures of you as a baseball player. You're very tall.
Yeah, I'm just average. They had some really good ball players. They had this one guy, well, two or three of them, Kelly and them guys. They're really good. This one guy plays shortstop. Man, his ball was here. The first baseman catches the same place. Man, he's a rocket arm. They will go to Rainier and sign up,
Yes.
But a lot of them got married and stuff, So they only give them like $100 or $200 a month. That's all they pay them. They sign them up, but they couldn't take the contract. They had to come back and work in the mine or work
Right.
here, or woods in the mine, or
Right.
yeah. A lot of them, none of them ever went. Well, some of them went. Let's see, Edo Vanny played the Seattle Rainiers. Yeah, boy from Diamond, and then John Malgrini. He played. He played. I don't think he played professional baseball. He was a good ball, but he went on to some place playing baseball. I'm getting to my rack of my memory, all the ball players. But they had some really good ball.
So they had social clubs. They sang. They had singing. They went to the pub. They had baseball. Did they have
Soccer, big time soccer.
Soccer also.
Oh boy, soccer big time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And how about like book clubs or library things?
Library was a big thing in Diamond. My sister Muriel, she was a volunteer library, and Mrs. Not Mrs. McLeod, Mamma Mia. Miss McLeod was a librarian too, but that other lady. Anyway, they're really good friends, and they moved them around. They had an old schoolhouse one time, a library, and then when they built the new city hall up there, that was a library. They had a library in that one too, and then. Well, they had the libraries. Yeah, it went in here too. Yeah, but no library.
So libraries were important to the world.
Very important. Yeah.
Why?
They like to read.
Did they?
Oh God, yes, they like to read. Seems like every time I look around, somebody's reading. I didn't do much of that either. For some reason, the boys didn't have much to do with reading. I don't know why.
Very interesting. So, do you think it was part of like bettering yourself or getting educated?
Well, it's something to do, interesting, you know. In those days, you know, you didn't have cell phones and all the things they have today.
Right. No
so,
TV.
You know, you got a lot of things going on today they didn't have years ago. They didn't have no television or nothing. You know, they didn't even have radios.
Right.
And I can't hardly, because we had a radio. Well, we had television, and my dad watched. We never watched anything. My dad watched that because he had to go to work. He shut that thing off, and that was all. That was it. Because he had to go to bed.
Right.
Now, we didn't have much to play with. We made all kinds of games like Edie Ivy over. We had to throw things over the house. And
Yes.
stuff. You remember that?
I know that game.
Yeah, all them games we played, you know, yeah. Hide and seek, you know, just make games up among us because we didn't have enough. We had no money, so we didn't buy anything. You know, very seldom we bought anything.
Let me go back to the mine accidents. So I know about the Lawson accident. Were there others here?
Oh gosh, yeah, a whole bunch of mine accidents. They had accidents all over the place here. They had the big one in Landsberg right down here where my brother worked. And my brother was working in a gangway, and that Jack Morris owned all the stuff. He wanted my brother Dave to go up to Franklin to straighten out the gangway up there. And then my brother Dave was working with this guy, Mr. Coots, very good buddies. Wanted to take him with him, and Jack said, no, you have to go by yourself, straighten that up there. I'll tell you how ornery my brother is, my brother Dave. He said, I'm not working with that S&S. I'm not working with that. So Jack said, there's only nobody there, you're the boss, you take care of it. I'll get rid of all them guys for you. So that's my brother Dave.
Yeah.
You did it his way, or you go the highway, or he goes the highway. See, that's him, so I don't tell you what he's like.
What caused those accidents? What were the dangers?
Well, most of it's for gas explosions. You know? Yeah, most of it. Yeah, they had a lot of the bad ones, gas and some. That's all I know. Unless if they had a big bump in the mines where the pressure gets too bad and it collapses the pillars or something like that.
Right.
But most of it was all gas,
Electricity.
somewhere in there made them exploded.
I see.
They actually were, say, something like they were booming the pillars down. Well, I don't finish that story. My brother Dave went up to Franklin. While he was gone, they had the big explosion down at Landsberg. And so you need big pillars of coal in the mine to hold the earth above you up. So sometimes when you want to start, they call it booming the pillars, and as you get to the end, instead of putting timbers and lagging and all that, you just go and shoot all that coal, make it drop down to the gangway, then just load it out. So it's easy pickings, but you don't want to get too close to the top because she all comes in. Like Landsberg, there's a lake above them up there in Landsberg, and when they boom the pillars, they all come in.
Water.
Water,
Flooded
dirt, and all,
yeah.
you know, that's a lot of dirt up there
Yeah,
comes down.
right.
And then Bob Coots, that brother, he got caught in the chute, but they got him out 4 days later.
Oh.
And he went to work in the woods and got killed in the woods.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that
sakes.
day's good, really good. But they lost 4 miners that day in there
Yeah.
because the whole thing come down. And my dad, him and Jack Morris were Welsh, both Welsh. And I was down there one day, and Jack asked him, "Why, Gomer, you come to work for me?" He says, my dad don't mince no words, buddy. I'm telling you, you know what he said. So he said, "You SB, you know, you're pulling too goddamn close to the top. You're going to get killed one of the days."
He knew.
My dad knew it. So
Yeah.
and 1 year later, that thing caved in on him.
Wow.
And then anyway, later on, my brother Dave come back down, and Jack wanted to drive another rock tunnel through and miss that where them guys were at. Anyway, Dave was down there and he found a vest. It was John Coots's vest because every coal miner had special little things they wore. It was cut off shirts and that was his. So Jack's got everybody out of the coal mine, shut it down. Because if he got one, Dave told me, if they got one coal miners out, they have to go get all of them. But they got, states were really crooked them days, you know. They had ways of doing things, and so they never went back down there. And that was the end of it, yeah. But that's coal miners.
Yeah, that must just be very chilling. I mean, you're up above ground. You're a family up above ground, and you hear an explosion, and you know something bad has happened.
Well, they have bumps in the mine, and they used to have a lot of them, and they had one big one down here. Used to always so often and boom, bumpy bump on the mine. But if they had a really bad something, then Mr. Davis would blow the siren right here.
I see.
And I don't know, 2 or 3 things meant that there's something happening in the mine. Yeah.
Did everybody then go down there to see what was up?
No, they had the regular Mr. Lloyd, kind of on whatever you call it, first aid outfit for the mine. Yeah, he lived on the highway up there. They had actually had a whole section of the guys. That's all they took care of. Things like mining accidents in the mine. Yeah, and they had learned all the first aid stuff and everything. Yeah.
Sherry was telling me that even in the school they taught them first aid.
Yeah, I don't remember, but they probably tried to teach me, and I probably didn't pay no attention. They had the fire. We had a big fire right up here, and Miss Davis had to blow the siren. That got us out of the school to go fight the fire right up here on top of the hill. Yeah, I remember that. That was the kind of things we did when we was little, you know. Just
so the community worked together.
Oh, very good. We were pretty close. Yeah.
A disaster. Did you take care of those families that lost miners?
Yeah, we always had some kind of a get together at the show hall mostly. Saying what we can do, and people would donate. They didn't have much themselves.
I know.
Yeah, so you always donate something to the family, you know. But most of the time they moved out, but no, yeah.
The families would leave.
Yeah, move into Seattle, closer to Seattle. Renton, a lot of moved into Renton and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it must be hard to stay here when this horrible thing has happened.
Yeah.
And they don't recover the bodies, so you never have complete closure, do you? Except for the wall out in front.
Oh, yeah.
The wall has all a commemoration of all those names.
Right, but we wanted to find out, you know, legally, really who got killed in the mines.
Right.
So those are only the people that got, according to L&I and Olympia, Labor and Industries, they had the list of it. That's where we got the names for all them people. But they were killed in the mines. A lot of guys went home and died.
Yes, black lung.
Yeah, stuff like that. So they never got on the wall.
Right.
But I know, somebody's here a week or two ago, their grandparent was on that wall, but he said he died at home. Well, all we know, Labor and Industries got him, they killed in the mine. So,
But that was after Washington was a state to have Labor and Industries. I mean, the mine was here before it became a state.
But a lot of it were mouth to ear stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So like some of the books will tell you that they're not quite accurate, but they just took some coal miner's word that's what the guy was and his name and everything like that. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I know. I read that someplace.
And his record keeping was
Yeah.
Not what it is now, I
Yeah.
guess. Okay. Great. See if there's anything here that we've missed. Why did Morgan's quit? Do you know?
I think he just died here.
Ah,
He lived up on, long before my time.
yeah,
They lived up on Lawson.
that's right. He died around 1911, I think.
Yeah, so he lived up in the Lawson up here in the big house on the hill, way up on top.
Is it still there?
No, it's all gone, all that. Yeah, it's right up on top of Lawson. That's where it's, the house, a big white house. Anyway, that's where they said that he lived, you know. So,
Ah.
uh,
And Sherry told me that this mine was one of the deepest in the United States.
yeah, that's
Is
what
that
I've
right?
understood. Yeah, but we're like 2,000 feet straight down, vertical shaft,
Yeah.
but it runs on like a 30-degree pitch.
That's quite a pitch.
Yeah, well, they're all like that.
Are they?
Oh yeah, you see,
Wow.
like Strange mine right here, a big picture of my dad in it, and you see the pitch in there like that. Like keep your head down. Don't want to hit that collar when you're going down. Just stand up and knock your head off.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Did you ride down in a cart, a little?
Yeah, they had man trip.
Yeah.
That man trip. They had benches in it.
Oh, I see. Right. And was it like a cog railroad?
No, regular wheel. Regular wheels
Uh-huh.
on rails.
And rails. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, on rails. Yeah, just ride down there.
Uh-huh.
Just keep your head down and you're okay. A lot of places, the jippos, a lot of them had, they call them water level. So they just went straight in
Mm-hmm.
and probably pulling pillars or whatever they're in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think it push them things in there. And then they'd have a cable on. When we get pulled out, they pull it out and then switch it and then pull it up the hill to the
Yeah,
bunkers.
right.
My brother Dave had a little one down there in Old Lawson, him and his partner, yeah. But that's the way it was in Black Diamond in my days. I don't know them old guys, bunch of tough coal miners.
Oh, yeah.
God, they were tough. Nothing scared them of it.
I know.
No?
That's,
My
I
dad
keep
was.
thinking about how it was every day to go down into that grave, the darkness of the grave.
But it was a society of guys. I mean, they never forget each other, you know.
All
I don't
right.
care how 50. One time, long time after my brother David left the mine, and his good buddy, oh God, he was working in Landsberg with him. He lived over in Enumclaw, and he was a long time since been in the mine. And so Joe, a good buddy of mine, he knew him when he dumped garbage for him over there. He went, come on, oh God, I think of the guy's name anyway. Anyway, so I said, okay, we'll go. So we took, I thought I'd drive, so we took Joe and me and went over to Enumclaw, got this coal miner. Jesus. So he got him and took him all the way up to Murray's where my brother Dave lived. And God, talk about two guys that, they're really happy to see each other. You couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And all they do is talk about the mine.
Yeah.
All the time. Coal
Oh,
mine,
interesting.
all everything. You remember this, you remember that? And why do we just, Joe and I just sit there and listen. Yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
how close they were, and they all worked in the mines together. Yeah, they were.
How long were the days, the working days? 8 hours? 10 hours?
Yeah, well, they were 8 hours,
So-
5 days. But my uncle Jenkins, I remember he told me they used to work 6 10s.
Oh, wow.
And then they went on strike. This way back in 18,
Yeah.
whatever, and they wanted 8 hour days. Yeah, I remember. He's an engineer, so what do you care about? He had a nice big office down there
Uh-huh.
in Indian.
Right.
I don't know how that guy ever got. He never had no work clothes on. He always had a
Suit
suit
and tie?
and a suit and tie and a
Ooh.
vest here and a big watch going here with a
Oh,
gold chain
yes.
going here.
Right.
And I could never figure out how does that. Well, he's an engineer, and so one time, Gold Bar up here, they wanted some water. They needed a tunnel to go through this mountain to get to this water supply. They hired my uncle Jenkins to be the engineer.
Had he gone to school, college, to be an engineer?
I never figured it out.
Oh, he just knew things.
He knew what he's doing because
Yeah.
they hired him, and we went up there first time we was there. Up there they had the pyrite gold, looks like gold.
Mhm.
So we're just young, me and my sister
Fool's gold.
Debbie, yeah, fool's gold. So we got up the next morning, I went out on the lawn. I went back, and Deborah, and my aunt Deborah, and I told her about all the gold in the front yard. She said, "No, Gomer, that's not gold. That's iron pyrite." The first time I knew it was iron. And they had it all over the river and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Exactly.
My sister and
It looks good for a while, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Oh, here comes the head man.
Yeah. Hello.
Oh.
Okay, let me just double check and see if there's anything.
Oh, you're
more I was
okay.
gonna ask you. Yeah.
my stick.
Okay. And people immigrated from Wales because things were bad in Wales, weren't they?
Well, I don't know. You know, I've got to tell you a story about my. I quite don't know. I know my mom and dad. They're from up there in Kumamoto. And all it is a slate quarry, so there wasn't really nothing up there. And well, down where my dad lived, it was still booming. You know, Cardiff is still big coal mines and everything were there. I just think my dad wanted to get out of there. You know,
It was 1911, you said.
Yeah, they come over here,
Okay.
and the family, you know, they didn't want people to steal their money from them and stuff like that.
Right.
So they pinned them money on the inside of the coat or something like that.
Yeah.
To get him over here, but he went to France first for some reason.
Ah, interesting.
He was you know, wasn't a guy to sit still.
No, he was quite a guy.
Yeah, wish you could have met that guy.
Right.
He's a woman man too, you know.
Was he?
Oh God, yeah.
He's good looking.
Yeah. And that's Joe Morganti, not Joe Morganti, Joe Patelli, Italian guy. He lived. Anyway, I was sitting there with one now over here. He says, you know, I really loved your mother. I'd like to go with her, but he says I knew your dad was taking care of, you know, looking after her. He said I don't monkey with that. He says I won't be around her very long. That's he told me, Joe. But he's a really Italian guy, really nice. I used to pick ferns with him. You know, something to do. Yeah, Joe Patelli. Yeah.
Gomer, it's been just a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Just a pleasure.
I don't know.
I
I
really
just
appreciate it.
Oh, and I'm the oldest guy here.
Yeah.
I was there. What they're talking about.
Oh yes.
Sometimes
exactly.
they get things backwards.
Yeah, you know.
Oh, I was here.
You're a culture carrier. Have you ever heard that?
No, I'm a coal miner.
No, well, you're a culture carrier for the coal miners. Culture carriers are people who lived through stuff and knew about it all.
Oh gosh.
And then when everybody else is gone, they can tell.
Yeah.
They can tell what.
I think, you know, stories tell, change,
Right.
and it's a shame. Like the names, most of them, nobody knows those names here. Like the Boncaro, Larry Boncaro come here, one of the siblings of the old Boncaro family. They still own all that land down there. Italian, really great family. Nobody knew who he was. You know, that's the way it is in the
And you could say hello.
Hi, Larry, how you doing?
Yeah.
Ralph's boy, you know, looks a lot like his dad too. And they're all, but I know a lot of them come here, siblings. Like one lady come here, it's an Italian lady, no, nice, good looking. Italians are nice looking women. I got my dad's thing about women, so I am. Anyway, so she come here, she's looking for her mother. Well, I said, she went to high school, graduated from high school. Well, we have a book in here that shows where she's at. So she got the book there. Found her mother's picture in the book.
Wow.
And then it tells her where she's at in the frames up there.
Oh, wow.
I'll be a son of a gun. So she had her mother's maiden name. That's what she's looking for. So she's so happy to you know, find out. Yeah, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
You know, siblings come 50 years later
Right.
looking for their mother or something. Yeah.
Well, you can stop it now if you don't mind, Sherry. I was just